Hello, welcome to Statecraft IAS and Social Perspectives Sociology Newspaper Series. In this series, we shall look into daily news articles in sociological perspective and revise relevant sociological concepts in our UPSC mains sociology optional syllabus with the help of newspaper articles on daily basis. In today's video, we have an article in the front page of the Hindu saying new population policy keeps all sections in mind, says CM Yogi Adityanath. Rising population is the root of all major problems, says UP Chief Minister. Now, in this article can be linked to our population dynamics chapter in paper 2, wherein we have various problems due to population or high population. Now, in this article also quotes the same. This article says population is hurdle to development. Across the world, concerns have been raised from time to time about increasing population being a hurdle in development. Discussions on it have been going on for 4 decades. The countries and states which have made efforts in this direction have seen positive results. However, more efforts are needed. Further, it says awareness and extensive programs would be held among those communities, cadres, and geographical areas that have a higher fertility rate in Uttar Pradesh as per its new population policy. We should not forget that the increase in population contributes to poverty in society. Hence, until all sections of society are made comprehensively aware, there will be a delay in fulfilling various goals. Every section of society has to be associated with the awareness campaign, says CM Adityanath. Now, this article quotes two major problems due to overpopulation, that is, population being hurdle to development, and the other one is population giving rise to poverty. These 2 points can be added in our population dynamics unit under the heading problems due to overpopulation. Now moving on to the next article. Here in the editorial page, we have an article written by Shashi Tharoor and Arvind Kurian Abraham. This is a very important article both in polity perspective and social perspective. This article talks about anti-discrimination law. And the authors go on saying about inequality and discrimination are arising due to differentiation in the society, and they vouch for the need of an anti-discrimination law. The author says in the article that one of the authors says Shashi Tharoor has introduced a private member bill in the parliament last year, that is anti-discrimination law, but however the bill failed to pass, and it lapsed due to dissolution of Lok Sabha in the previous Lok Sabha. However, this article talks about union government alone cannot move in for anti-discrimination law. State governments have to come forward by legislating their own anti-discrimination laws in their own jurisdictions. And if any matters are pending which are under the purview of union government, then union government can come forward and it can enact anti-discrimination law too. So this article primarily says that states have to come forward first. And further, this article connects to Kerala, wherein it says in Kerala, conducive environment is prevalent because both the factions, that is the party in power and the party in opposition, both have agreed in terms in bringing out such law. So it is time for that law, and Kerala can be the torchbearer in that front, says this article. Now, this article has a brilliant introduction which can be used in our essays also. The introduction goes on saying, a couple turned down for a home they wish to rent because they are Muslim. A qualified professional rejected for a job because he uses a wheelchair. A pair of students denied facilities on campus because of their caste or ethnicity. An air hostess dismissed for being above the weight deemed desirable, even though male stewards or pursers of that weight continue in their jobs. Such incidents are all too common in our society. Now, this introduction can be used in our essay paper, and it can be used in our GS answer also if the time permits, time and space permits. This introduction in precise conveys what's the situation of inequality in our society and how it is taking form of discrimination. This inequality and differentiation is giving rise to discrimination, say authors. Now, this article can be linked to our stratification and mobility chapter in our mobility unit in our sociology syllabus. In that unit, we have a concept called concept of equality and concept of inequality. In that, we have salient aspects of inequality. They are, inequality is the result of differentiation. That means treating different individuals differently is known as differentiation. Here also, different individuals were treated differently, from which discrimination arises. Inequality is universal. It is universal among all the sections of the society, wherein members, those who are located in the higher stratum of society, discriminate the members who are located in the lower strata of society. Inequality is normally built into the social structure. Inequality is a source of social conflict and social change. Because of alienation and exclusion from the society, it leads to social conflict and it drives social change also. Inequality is normally sustained by the power of ideas. Now, ideology or thoughts that such individuals or certain particular individuals are not supposed to be included in the main stratum of society, are not supposed to be given jobs, are not supposed to be given homes for rent, are not supposed to be educated. These kind of ideas enforce the inequalities in the society, and they perpetuate the discrimination which is already prevalent in the society. Now, this power of ideas, thoughts, uh, this kind of thinking almost legitimizes the inequality, and it makes the people think that it is normal in nature, it is normal in society, and people forget to point fingers upon that discrimination, and they even forget to raise voice against that discrimination because they think it is normal, because that is reinforced by the power of ideas. That ideology is perpetuated and it is imbibed in the society as a normal thing. Now, inequality is not necessarily based on natural or biological inequalities. This inequality may also be an external inequality. That means not ascribed but achieved inequality. Now we have J.J. Rousseau saying, biologically based inequalities between men were small and relatively unimportant, whereas socially created inequalities provide the major basis for systems of social stratification. Further, in stratification and mobility chapter, we have social exclusion concept also, that is deprivation of resources of social or of social links. This social exclusion is stemmed out of discrimination only. That discrimination is resultant of differentiation and inequality. Now, nature of social exclusion is such that it is systematic. That means it is a result of structural features regardless of the wishes of the excluded. Now, in that particular also, article also, in the introduction, we have seen couples were denied of home for renting because they were Muslims. That means they wish to be included, they wish to be get into the home, but they were being excluded because they were Muslims. It is deprivation of opportunities access. It is again deprivation of access to home, deprivation of opportunity for a better living. Prolonged exclusion leads to reaction against inclusion. If the exclusion is prolonged and it is long term, it leads to reaction against inclusion. That means even if the inclusion is tried to be achieved in the society, those who were excluded hitherto will turn against that inclusion and they will remain excluded. Exclusion is not always deprivation and inclusion is not always justice. This is a tricky statement which requires material to understand that exclusion is not always deprivation. That means even if an individual is excluded, it does not necessarily mean that they are being deprived. Suppose there is a wealthy woman in a society. That means women belonging to higher stratum of society, or let's just say women of power class. Now that woman is excluded from the mainstream activities of society, but that woman is not necessarily deprived of opportunities nor access. If that woman wishes any kind of opportunity or wishes any kind of access, she will be given. That means it is not necessarily deprivation. And inclusion is not always justice. That means let's say women were included in the mainstream politics and women were included in the employment stratum. That means they were given jobs, they were talent was given primacy, and women were included in all kinds of employment. But if we look at the higher echelons of the management or higher echelons of any private companies, women were hardly seen in that positions. That means all the major positions, all the power positions in all the companies, almost all the companies, were enjoyed by men. That means inclusion was given to those women, but justice is not being necessarily met here. In parliament also, women were given opportunity to get into the politics, but justice is not being done. In panchayats also, they were given reservations, like 33% of reservations were given for women. That means inclusion is done, but justice is not done because of pradhan pati culture. Hence, exclusion is not always deprivation and inclusion is not always justice. This kind of discrimination, and why this anti-discrimination law is required, is that discrimination is hindering mobility. That means it is hindering both vertical mobility and horizontal mobility. Horizontal mobility is nothing but when current status is equal to the previous status. Vertical mobility is two types again. One is upward and the other one is downward, depending on the relative position of the current status with respect to the previous status. Now, forms of mobility can be intergenerational, intragenerational, and structural also. Now, as this discrimination is hindering individuals to enjoy upward vertical mobility and enjoy horizontal mobility also, this discrimination has to be addressed comprehensively. In this article, it is said Article 15, though addresses the discrimination and it tries to achieve equality, is not comprehensive enough. Reasons were quoted here, though it is not, as it is not completely, or as it is not relevant for social perspective, I'm not discussing that here, but it is highly relevant for political perspective or to write value added statements in polity answers. Now, again, if we look into, or if we try to include any thinker in this perspective, as it is a stratification mobility is a paper 2 concept or a unit in paper 2, we have to include some thinker from paper 1 here. We can include Emile Durkheim's division of labor here, because Emile Durkheim says division of labor is divided into normal and abnormal also it is two kinds. One is anomic and the other one is forced. Now, forced division of labor is a structural condition wherein distribution of task is not proportionate to distribution of talent and will, and that results in inequality of opportunity, which is an external inequality, says Durkheim. That here discrimination is also creating a situation wherein distribution of tasks is not proportional to distribution of talent and will. We have seen an air hostess situation in that introduction of our article. An air hostess, being a female, were denied of job opportunity because of the reason that she was overweight. But men were of same weight were given opportunity. That means here distribution of task is according to or in proportion to the gender, but not in proportion to the talent and will. Hence, that kind of situation is giving rise to inequality of opportunity, that is external inequality, and which frustrates individuals and which undermines solidarity, says Durkheim. Hence, division of labor must not be forced. That this means this inequality of opportunity is creating a situation which is in which a society is in forced kind of division of labor. That means division of labor is not according to their will and wish, that is not according to their talent and will. So that is a forced division of labor, and forced division of labor is not functional to the society. It undermines solidarity, says Emile Durkheim. Hence, discrimination must be stopped and the forced division of labor must be curtailed. For that, anti-discrimination law must be brought in, not only to ensure justice or equality in the society, but also to ensure solidarity in the society, according to Emile Durkheim. Now, that's all we have for today. If you like the content, please like, share, and subscribe to Statecraft IAS. Thank you for listening. Have a nice day.